I'm rambling. I'm just kind of word vomiting at this point, but that's what this channel is for, and you guys know that, and you've watched this channel before. You know I never know what I'm talking about. In episode 856 of Sammy Never Stops Talking About Her Church, in case you didn't know, the place that I go to is Highlight Church in Gaithersburg. And they have something called Highlight the City, which is their outreach. It is when you go and serve the community in one way, shape, or form. At the end of August, we had something called Highlight the City Week, where all of these opportunities were on a calendar and you were just able to sign up for where you wanted to serve. There was a cap on most of these, of course, because we want to be vigilant about COVID regulations and making sure that we're doing everything in a way that is safe and making sure everyone is healthy. Masks were required at every event. You had to answer a bunch of questions about whether or not you had COVID and take temperature checks and all of these things. They were doing things like as by the book as you can get, because there were so many people that really just needed the help, especially because we're in a pandemic. So they made sure that we had those opportunities available. There was something for everyone. They had things that you could do from home. They had things that you could go to in person. They had things you could just donate to if that was easier. My friends and I got together and made bookmarks for foster children. So we really just made an afternoon of getting together and decorating bookmarks for everybody. They also did a drive for school supplies that was with the county, and they were able to distribute these to families in need. They worked with a group called Comfort Cases that was collecting backpacks for foster children. These are children who usually get moved from home to home, and sometimes in police cars in the middle of the night, because that's just the kind of lifestyle that happens. And usually all they really have is their sack or their trash bag to carry all of their belongings. And so Comfort Cases seeks to give them a backpack, give them some dignity and say, like, these are my things, a special place to put what they own. Which, of course, the moment you hear that, you forget that backpacks cost like $30 and up, and you're like, fine, take all of them, please. Like, to me, that just is so inspiring that there's a group that just takes the time and to notice that detail. We did what is called a drive-through difference, which I'm sure you've heard of somewhere before. I know that the Christian station in our area promotes this every Thursday, but the idea is that you go to a fast food drive-through somewhere, Starbucks, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, wherever, and you pay for the person behind you. And of course, you're not really meant to sit there and look like, is this person deserving, or what does their car look like? Can they afford this? How many people are in this car? You're just meant to go in knowing that God is providing for you. And so because you are provided for, you have the gift, the privilege to help somebody else out that day. And then we just gave a little card saying, hey, Highlight loves you. If you want to tune into our service, here's the information. So it's not like an obligation to check us out because I paid for your meal, but just an invitation of, this is what we're about. This is what we're doing because we feel like God wants us to do these nice things for you. As for the in-person opportunities to serve, there were a few. There was a patio that was redone. There was a Sponsor a Mom event where people basically got a wish list from a teen mom who, had been struggling, and just shopped for her. And within a budget, were able to find things for her just to brighten her day and provide for her, which I think is just so cool. I think that's so fantastic. We have had a long-standing relationship with a place called Manna Food, which provides meal kits for families. A lot of people, are picking up their meals from schools in the county because the kids aren't going to school physically. And so Manna Food are the ones who collect that food, who prepare like the bag or the box and puts everything in. So we had been going there for quite a while, and usually they are very strict and protective of things. Understandably, there's a lot that has to go behind that, and they care very dearly about what they do. But they have just seen such consistency and trustworthiness in us that they have opened up more hours for us. And they've even done an after-hours time slot where we're able to go in, just us, not even with any of the other employees there, just us as a group, and do our own additional boxes to whatever they did that day. And it's just so amazing to know, first of all, that they really see that we are doing something good, that they can trust us, that this is really making a difference. And also just that we know at the end of the day, every single one of those bags is going to a family. It's a real family that is able to just feed all of their children that week. And it's crazy to think that so many people need it, which is why it's so special to know, like, yes, I am doing something about it. I'm not just turning a blind eye and saying, wow, that must be rough, but we're really taking our time and giving back to them. I think that's one of the best things we could do. The schools also had an event where they were passing out the school supplies, and they didn't really have a lot of staff willing to help out, to interact with these kids in person and to spend hours putting things into the backpacks or whatever it was that they were going to hand the supplies out with. It was a risk because of COVID, and many teachers did not feel safe doing this. So to have our church there enthusiastic and just ready to love on these kids and know that these are children who we should be praying for, that these are children who, because they have these materials, are able to have better resources for their education. I mean, it's crazy to think about the impact that has, teachers going there early in the day and just not feeling great, feeling kind of uncomfortable. And then to have this group of volunteers all like excited and cheering at every moment, because that's the kind of people we are, and we clap for everything, and we're just excited to see what God does. And we make sure that we put love into everything we do, and we're hoping that that love reaches the kids that this is going to benefit. It's just so cool to hear the stories and to hear principals and teachers just being so grateful because, when no one else was willing to step up, here comes the church community. Here comes the last people you would expect to really just serve, to really show that they care and that they are here. And, we are willing to help in this opportunity and whatever else may arise, because that's what we're called to do. Those are the kinds of people that we want to be, and that is the love that we have been shown, so we want to spread it to other people. The last event that I was able to go to was at a center for women who are fleeing from domestic abuse and violence, most of them with children. And it's crazy to hear just that these women, still have to take care of their kids, still have to go to work, all while just hoping to be safe. And so the idea that we could do anything for them was just overwhelmingly powerful for me. When we went to the center, we painted what is their daycare, essentially. They were considering changing it to a learning center because a lot of the kids are now learning virtually. So just giving them a space to be kids and be students and just have their own place with bright windows and just the ability to enjoy a moment to themselves. The day that we went to paint this room, there was just so much laughter and joy and just love in that room, and I really hope that the energy we brought there stays there. That's something that the kids can feel. That's something that carries forward as people use that space. It's special being a part of something like that, and just knowing that the few hours of your day that you were willing to give up make a difference for years to come. That to me is indescribable. Getting this week of service didn't come easy. This took a lot of preparation. Our administrative team is fantastic and, put all of these things in place so that we had everything lined up on the calendar, ready to go. And our pastors actually met with the mayor, trying to get all of this started. The mayor already kind of knew who we were, and the pastor had been following our mayor closely. Pastors asked what the biggest needs were in COVID, and the mayor mentioned that money was a big part of it, that food was a massive need in this time, and that domestic violence was at an all-time high. Hearing that, it's crazy to me that our pastors were able to say, well, we have been collecting funds to be used in different organizations as is best needed, and so if there is something we can do to help financially, we have the means to do that, and we want to contribute that. Also, we've been working with Manna Food that helps with the meals that you have mentioned, and we would like to contribute more to those organizations by donating food ourselves. And also you mentioned domestic violence, and we work with this women's center where we have had a lasting relationship with them and have already built a bond there to help out with the rooms and whatever else they're willing to allow us in. But please let us know what else we can do. I can't imagine that the mayor was at all prepared to hear that this church was already working in the 3 areas that were just mentioned, or that these bonds, that these relationships had been cultivated already, that we didn't need the door opened for us, that we had taken the time to make sure we put our foot in and just let our presence be known and made ourselves available. I think it's incredible to know that, and now that the mayor is aware, now we're more aware of the opportunities to serve. We don't have to wait and we don't have to look. We have that direct connection knowing this is what needs to be done, this is what we can do, and we're going to get someone on it right away. That's so great for us because, you know, we want to make a difference. We want to do something better for our community. And now we just have this new door, this new connection that allows us to do that better than we were already doing. It's beautiful to think about, but also moves me to want to continue doing it. Because honestly, serving those opportunities, they were so fun. I really had a blast doing them. It didn't even feel like work. It was just a fun thing to do. That happens to benefit a lot of people. There are no cons to it. But now it's about, I don't want to just wait for this special week every year. I need to make sure that I'm doing it regularly. I don't claim that anybody needs a church community to do good in their world or in their community. I think that's bogus, and you can absolutely, as an individual, do good. But if you're going to say that, then do it. Like, that's totally fine, but please, if you're able to, if you don't have that community that you can do things together with, go do it yourself. Or get some friends together and see who's willing to help you. There is always something that you can do to do good in the world, and all this has done is really sparked in me that need to continue pushing into that. I don't want that momentum to stop. I want this to be a regular part of my life. And while donating to charities has always been something very special to me and something that I consider to be important, I don't want it to just be about the money. I want to physically do something and just have that experience. I think that's a better use of my time than the way I've been using my time now. So when money is hard to sacrifice, we give donations. But sometimes our time is a lot harder for us to give up. And I think we should get into the habit of recognizing that there are things that are worthwhile when it comes to giving up your time. Because it affects not just you, but so many people around you. There's so much good to be done, you guys. This is already super long, but I want to end on this note from a message that our pastor gave. You've probably heard the story of Daniel in the lion's den and how he was thrown in, and because he had faith and because he prayed, God heard him and kept him safe, and he kept the lions' mouths shut. What someone who doesn't read the Bible often might not know is that the king didn't want to send Daniel into the lion's den. The king actually really liked Daniel because he was a hard worker, he was incredibly intelligent, and when all of his staff and his experts couldn't help him with something, Daniel was right there. He really had a great impression of this kid. The reason that he sent Daniel into the lion's den is because Daniel wasn't worshiping the gods and the statues that he was supposed to legally. And when other people got jealous of Daniel, they called him out and told the king, you have to send him into the lion's den because you said that's what you were going to do and you can't go back on your word. The king felt terrible about it. The king did not want to do it, but he wasn't really given a choice. That was the law that he had put in place. So he sent Daniel to the lion's den. And then, for the evening, he didn't want to see anybody or eat anything. He was absolutely just paranoid and panicked. He was actually distraught about this. And so he went alone into his room and he fasted and he prayed to Daniel's God, not even to the gods that he had been worshiping before. He prayed to Daniel's God. And at no point in their relationship did Daniel show the king how to do this or tell him this is how blah, 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 blah. He just did it because it was a part of his life, because it was a part of what was important to him. And the king saw that, he observed that, and learned that way. And when Daniel was in danger, when his beloved servant was in danger, he said, I am going to pray to this God. I am going to fast in the way that Daniel does because he has shown me that it has results and that this is the right way to do things. And just, he was in so much pain about the idea of something happening to Daniel that he gave up all of his biases and said, I am going to pray to this God. The next day, when Daniel was totally fine and perfectly protected, the king was thrilled, and he ended up punishing the people who accused him because he knew that Daniel was never in the wrong, really. And afterwards, he, as the king, approached his nation and said, we are worshiping the one true God, Daniel's God. His God is the one who has control over all of this. And I want you all to know that. I want you to know that that is who is the rightful God and that is who we are praying to. And at no point did Daniel tell him, this is what you should do, or you know it would be nice, maybe you could make this announcement. Daniel never said any of that. He just felt that it was right. And all of that was because of Daniel's influence. Because Daniel was so diligent and just put so much passion and faith into his relationship with God that the king couldn't help but see that and learn that and be inspired by it. And when he saw God come through, he said, well, now I just have to tell everybody. I think that's kind of what we should see in our lives. We should be aware that whether or not we want to, what we do always has influence, and we never know who it's going to influence. Sometimes it's our best friend or a stranger we meet. Sometimes it's a coworker. Sometimes it is the mayor. It is a king. It is some official or just somebody with power that we didn't know could be impacted in such a way. But it's possible. It's doable. So you need to be thinking about what kind of impact you are putting into the world. Where I am right now, a lot of things are going right. Yeah, the outside world, kind of crazy, to say the least. There's a lot of pain for a lot of very valid reasons, and there's a lot of times when my empathy causes me to just dwell into that and wonder what I can do and why I feel so powerless. But then I remember the things that I can control and the things where the momentum has already started and it's my job to make sure that they don't stop. Because in doing those things, I can do better for myself and for the people around me. In the sphere that I control, I am able to reach for more. I am able to impact those things. And so I want to do that. I want to create the best space. I want to create the best change. I want to be the best leader and the best person that I can be. And that happens with moving forward, keeping that momentum up. And I wish that I could be more eloquent and less rambly about it. I wish that I had a more precise script to talk about these things. But all I can really do is share my experience and where my mind is going and hope that maybe someone else gets it. You know, if you are not in a place where you feel like change is possible right now, where things just kind of seem low, first of all, I want to tell you that I love you. I want to tell you that you are brilliant, and I get that things are low, and I get that things feel kind of bad, and I don't blame you, because I think we all have that. And it is okay to cry it out as much as you need to. It is okay to just talk about it and be aware of those things. I think you kind of have to be. I think you have to accept those sad moments in order to really move on from them. And moving on doesn't happen as quickly as we want it to sometimes. So I get it. It sometimes takes a lot more energy and a lot more time to get to a place where we feel like we can make a difference. But I'm letting you know right now where you're at. you can make a difference. There is something you can do. And there is something that only you can do. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee that there is something you have that can be used for good. And as soon as you are willing, I'm not even going to say ready, because sometimes no one really feels ready. As soon as you are willing, go do the thing. Go figure out what it is. Go ask somebody to help you figure out what it is, because it's not always super obvious. Look in your community. Look within your friends and family if that's where you want to start. There's something to be done. And I want to go do it. Thank you for listening to me talk about this. It's something special to my heart, in case you couldn't tell. I don't know that I'm going to have a clean, nice little sign-off. I don't really know how to end this. I've just been venting to a camera. So that's that. I love you. I'm sorry if my next video takes another month. We'll see what happens.